I'm obviously not Elizabeth. Some of you have met me before. I'm Nancy Leahy-Jacklow, a licensed Unity teacher who happens to be a snowbird from Unity of Naples. And last night about 7 o'clock, Elizabeth texted me asking if she was unable to make today's service, if I could help. I'm sure I'm violating HIPAA laws, but she was being assessed for a kidney stone, which elevated the importance of her taking today off in my mind, having had one years ago. So I immediately agreed to relieve her worries and sent an affirming prayer her way. And interestingly enough, shortly upon hearing this, it became clear to me again that this was another opportunity for me to consciously journey from an appearance of an upset through gratitude to achieving peace. Spirit was whispering this, I can tell you, in my ear. And so I'm going to share with you very clearly the process that I followed. Many of you who've been here before have heard me say this. The first step is breathe. Not just a shallow chest breath, but a full, deep belly breath. This is the way in which we reconnect with Spirit. And I don't know about you, but once I get over the lightheadedness, if I haven't been breathing well, I do feel better, I feel calmer, and I feel clearer. My next action was to put Elizabeth in my God jar. My God jar. It's a really big jar. I have one just like this down in Florida, and it's equally as full. But what's interesting about this is over time I have become much better in discerning what's above my pay grade, and I have absolutely no business interfering with. Voila, the God jar. This is the way I let go and let God. My little sign says, I trust God to answer our prayers in the right perfect way and in the right perfect time. Thank you, God. It has relieved me of so much stuff. But I was fascinated to notice that when I opened my daily word for Saturday, it was like, go and let God. The God jar. So if you'd like to be in the God jar, see me later. I'll have it out. So here we are, back to the next steps. Well, after consciously breathing several times and getting fully into the present moment, this is when I heard Spirit's guidance saying, we're going to go from upset to gratitude to peace. Now, I have several files of talks and points to make that I've accumulated over the years. And feeling for Elizabeth and, what am I going to do, whatever, I figured it was time for me to lighten my own energy as I proceeded. So I went to a file of materials that make me laugh. And anybody else feeling there's a need to be laughing these days? Spirit led me to this old list of analogies and metaphors which supposedly had been submitted by high school students in English classes. I have a feeling this might have been a while ago. So here we go, my dears. His thoughts tumbled in his head, making and breaking alliances, like underpants in a dryer without cling-free. Good start. Her vocabulary was bad, whatever. I've heard that recently. He was as lame as a duck. Not the metaphorical lame duck either, but a real duck that was actually lame, maybe from stepping on a landmine or something. He fell for her like his heart was a mob informant and she was the East River. He was deeply in love. When she spoke, he thought he heard bells, as if she were a garbage truck backing up. Wait for it. Long separated by cruel fate, The star-crossed lovers raced across the grassy field toward each other, like two freight trains. One having left Cleveland at 6:36 p.m. traveling 55 miles. The other from Topeka at 4:19 at 35 miles an hour. It's not Shakespeare, but it sure keeps me laughing, and I'm so grateful for that. So sorry. Okay, so clearly my energy was lightened. But I have to ask before I go on, is anyone else noticing how frantic and distressing things seem to be these days? You know, I just about don't know anybody, even from our great-grandchildren up to my compatriots, who don't to some extent feel overcommitted, overextended, or overwhelmed. I keep trying to figure out what is it driving this manic need to be busy and occupied virtually every minute of the day, to say nothing of multitasking. It just seems that we have abdicated our lives. And so it's no surprise that we are challenged in trying to find our way to peace. Well, I have to tell you that when I realize, or rather I become aware that I am feeling out of my peace, I have a series of thoughts that tumble through my mind just like the underwear in the dryer. So back to the process. Each time I return to breathing and quieting my mind, I'm setting the stage so that I can consciously choose to recognize and then to release my reactive thoughts. Breathe. This allows me to squarely face my conditioned ego-driven judgments and beliefs. Breathe. And then I can begin my journey into my heart, for it is there and only there in my heart where I eventually find my abiding peace. Now, there are certain quotes that I remember from way back in my awakening process that come to mind when I'm consciously doing this. Oddly, there are two phrases that were inscribed over the entrances to the Temple of Delphi. I think most of us have heard this, know thyself. My other favorite is nothing too much. Nothing too much. Timeless advice that I think is even more appropriate now when we are obviously dealing with a lot of balls in the air. Next, I remembered the assurance from my elder brother Jesus, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Usually right on the heels of this is an old unity affirmation. God is my all, I know no fear. And at this point, when I'm just about ready to enter into that inner chamber, I hear that directive, peace, be still. As I was observing this process Friday night, I remembered how pre-unity, I call this the PU part of my life. I've been taught to think that peace was an absence of war or conflict, and also somehow that peace was something that I could appropriate or I could obtain externally. My magical thinking was somehow that the messiness, the complexities, the changes, whatever that was going on in my life, would somehow cease, or at least become manageable. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Okay. I can't tell you how grateful I am that unity has taught and continues to sustain me in my remembering that the truth is I am always immersed in peace. Peace is the divine matrix of God. I am always and in all ways empowered to choose peace, regardless of any and all appearances I find myself experiencing. It was so interesting to open today's daily word My divine nature is unlimited. My personal redefining of peace goes back many years ago when I started to study the Bible with Unity's guidance. And it was especially relevant to remember the actual meanings of either the Hebrew or the Greek words that were used in those texts. All of these words, and there were many, were translated into peace in English. This is the range of meaning. To be silent. To hush. To hush. Think of that, to hush. Clearly to be quiet. And also to be astonished. And the one that I most appreciate is to be or to make complete. An old favorite book of mine is The Essential Unity of All Religions. The editor asserts that, willy-nilly, consciously or subconsciously, all living beings, all things, are all the time trying to reach the eternal fount of peace, which is within themselves. This self of all is universal love. This seems so powerful to me as it echoes the energy of peace being made to be complete. I'm again reminded, and inherent in all sacred texts, regardless Hindu, Buddhist, Taoist, Jewish, Christian, Islam, there is a theme that applies to all truth seekers. They all exhort us to recognize, to express, and to live the spirit of unity. And to do so, we must release all of our mistaken ideas of separation. Although these teachings are delivered in various idioms, they are all unified in their call to us to realize our oneness with each other and with the divine, whatever you may call that ultimate being. It's at this stage in my process I trigger gratitude as a path toward peace. Attaining peace does not call for a removal from life as much as an embracing of life, which allows us to bring forth our peace regardless of what is appearing to be going on in our lives. Jesus' teachings are crystal clear in this regard. Certainly he was a master of using analogies with such vivid and identifiable images that those who heard him totally understood what he was getting at and could apply it moment by moment and day by day. The kingdom of heaven, he tells us, is found in everyday things like growing a garden, kneading bread, holding seeds. Jesus knew and explained repeatedly and demonstrated for us that we too are immersed in that kingdom. Oh, my beloved Charles Fillmore reminds us in the revealing word, peace is the harmony and tranquility derived from awareness of the Christ consciousness, the remembering of our indwelling divine connection, the living in and from our ultimate union with God. Charles goes on to encourage us to steadfastly use affirmations of peace to harmonize our whole body structures and thereby open the way to attaining health in mind and body. Again, today's daily word reminder, my divine nature is unlimited. It's in the 14th chapter of the Gospel of John where we find the story of how Jesus, while preparing his disciples for his imminent departure, gave them this assurance. And I pray that the Father will give you another counselor to be with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees nor knows it. You know him, for he dwells with and will be in you. But the Counselor, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you. This says to me that the more we practice affirmative prayer and meditation, the more we follow the example Jesus left us, the more we too will find ourselves remembering the eternal truth of our Christ consciousness. And in doing so, the more we will truly be immersed in the peace that we are. As this knowing becomes our primary pattern, the more naturally we are quickened and know ourselves as united with Spirit, and we are made complete. It strikes me that Jesus' words assure us that as we are open and receptive to this indwelling Spirit, we will energize the power to master ourselves, to be grateful for all things, to be peace, to exude peace, to live peace. The more we practice living from and as peace, the more we are able, if you will, to spiritualize the material, thereby finding ourselves and all others in peace, appearances notwithstanding. With awareness of this counselor, we are always empowered to step firmly into heaven and to be in the kingdom. It's interesting that as this gospel story continues, Jesus lovingly chides us to release old error thinking and to keep his word. We are cautioned that any holding on any other way of being will keep us from his presence. Jesus tells us that all we need to do is to love and to be alert to the guidance of the Holy Spirit, who, as he says, will teach all things and bring you to your remembrance of all that he has taught us. Here we are clearly told we must choose to eliminate anything that shuts off love, be it fear, worry, judgment, the past, unforgiveness, so that we may be softened and released to be free to return to the balance of being able to both give and receive love. And finally, in that gospel story, how powerfully we are assured of these words: peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. In his classic and wonderful book, Jesus Christ Heals, again, Charles Fillmore expands our understanding of Jesus' teachings when he says, those who study the mind and its many modes of action find that when they refuse to let thoughts of worry, anxiety, or other distractions set in their mind, they gradually establish an inner quietness that finally merges into a great peace. This is the peace of God, that peace which passes all understanding. When this peace is attained, the individual gets inspirations and revelations direct from infinite mind. He goes on, that still small voice at the center of our being does not command what we shall be or what we shall or shall not do. It is so gentle and still in its work that in the hurly-burly of life, we overlook it entirely. We look out and beholding the largeness of the world of things, we begin to cast about for a God corresponding in character to this world. But we do not find such a God on the outside. We must drop the complex and find the simplicity of the most simple one before we can know God. We must become as little children. It's in the becoming like a little child that we can fully experience God as peace that surrounds us without time or place or culture or events acting as barriers to our being fully present to the divine. It seems to me our grown-up minds so often miss the paradox that when we sit down with no thoughts of results, no striving for that connection, we will just naturally and spontaneously go and be with God. There's a beloved Taoist meditation book that I read frequently. And in there is this description of receptivity that says, I want to make myself an empty room, quiet whitewashed walls with slant sunshine and a fresh breeze through open windows. The commentary with this tells us how peace will never be attained by perpetual action. It reminds us that stirred water never has a chance to settle clear, that a tree buffeted by winds can never grow straight. We are urged to give up all unnecessary activity, to give up all arbitrary actions, to make ourselves receptive receptive, and in doing this, the peace that we seek will be quickly at hand. This reminder came to me of a poem by William Blake, an English poet. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. It is right, it should be so. Man was made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, safely through the world we go. My prayer for you, dear ones, is that you too will know to the very depths of your being that God is your all. You will know no fear, and that truly you are immersed in peace always. Thanks so much for being here. Have wonderful weeks. God bless you. So, dear ones, I invite you to join me in this time in which we enter into the silence, while we dissolve and release all that has gone before. This is our journey without distance, the very central core of who it is we are. So I invite you to relax into the support of your chair. Breathe deeply and gently, and feel your personality dissolving, so that you are able to be in touch with your truth, your abiding holy truth. So as we take this next breath, as we partake of Spirit, let us feel how she enters into our physical beings, calms us, yet quickens us, brings us into balance, and brings us into the present. On this next breath, let's be grateful for how Spirit moves into these amazing brains of ours and calms them and balances them and opens us to a deeper understanding of who it is and what it is that we are here to be. And as we enter into the chamber of our hearts, that sacred place where we are totally in connection with our source, let us relax in remembering how we are part of a magnificent whole. We are beings formed in light and in love. We are integral to the game of life. And so as we relax and we allow Spirit to breathe us, we move gently into knowing that we are here to love and to be loved. We are here to give and to receive. And we are here to choose joy in every moment of our existence. For joy is what we are. And so I invite you now to move into the silence. Open your heart. Hear and discern what it is that still small voice of Spirit is wishing to say to you as we move into the silence. Peace, my dears. Be still. powerful we are in this sacred place, sharing this sacred time, in which we clearly hear and understand what it is that our still small voice is wishing to say to us. To remind us how in every moment, as our daily word says today, my life is an opportunity to be an opening for God on earth. And I move into this opportunity to express the highest and best of myself, knowing that I am the beloved of the Most High One, the light of God, and I am fully able to express that to its fullest, for the good of myself and all whom I love and those whom I don't even know. And for the remembering of this, the embracing of this, the expressing of this, we say thank you, Mother, Father, God. We are boundlessly blessed, and we are boundlessly grateful. And so it is, for it is so.